Welcome to the AVAIL podcast, where we dig deep and talk about the art of leadership. My name is Virgil Sierra, your AVAIL podcast host and lead pastor of Vertical Church, aka Iglesia Vertical in South Florida. Today we're sitting down with Pastor Kevin Taylor. Kevin is lead pastor of Journey Church, and today we're going to discuss his new book, Daily Rebellion. So lean in, leaders, and let's get started. Pastor Kevin, I'm excited not only to connect with you, but to hear about this book. I think the title of the book really caught my attention. How does it feel to be on the AVAIL podcast?
Feels great, Virgil. Really, thanks for having me here. It's a pleasure to be here, and thanks for the title. It wasn't the original title. I don't even want to tell you what the original title was. That's when we settled, and I like it best, so that's good.
Yeah, that's good. And I'll add the subtitle. So it's Daily Rebellion: The Everyday Fight to Press Pause. I'm gonna get really excited, and I'm gonna be taking notes while you're sharing about this. Before we jump into the meat of this conversation, can you share a little bit about yourself, your family, your ministry?
Yeah, for sure. Pastor Journey Church in Kenosha, Wisconsin. My wife Jolene, we co-pastor together. I've been married for 44 years. Really from the South in Missouri and Kentucky, and now we find ourselves in the frozen chosen North. And been married for 44 years, and we have 3 daughters and 2 sons-in-law. We have 6 grandchildren that we love, 5 of which are kind of nearby us. So that's a little bit about myself. I'm can't tell by sitting down, but I'm 6'5" tall. And so that's kind of when my license plate is 6'5". So that's it. And my wife's Italian. So one of the places that we love to be most is Italy.
Wow.
A lot of our travels are there, and so it's fun. As anecdotally, I kind of like KFC and chocolate shakes at Culver's. Other than that, I'm a normal guy.
Yeah, I think Culver's is a telltale sign of a Wisconsin, and so I have a curious question. I mean, we've never talked about this, but 6'5". I mean, is basketball something that's been in your life or no?
I was dragged into it when I was in high school, but otherwise, I'm more of a musician, and I'm kind of awkward on my feet. But, but yeah, you got to play a little ball if you're 6'5".
Yeah. Hey, I play ball, so I love it, and I would want you on my team just because of your height. But I'm also a musician, so I would want to be in worship with you. I love that. And I know, as we shared a little before recording, many years in ministry, specifically also in leading worship, and then this call to lead the church that you're in. I think it's pretty awesome. And you don't always see that kind of, path or trajectory. I'm sure that was it's been a God ordained thing, huh?
Yeah, I always have ideas for your life, and then there's God's ideas. Sometimes they merge, and sometimes they're at odds with each other. And I didn't see that coming, but it's certainly been a joy of my life, I think, just to see life transformation up close and personal. I mean, you really get a front row seat to people's lives being changed when you're a pastor, and so that's really been beautiful.
Yeah, it is. I'm excited to talk about your book because I think, like I said, the title immediately caught my attention as I was preparing for this podcast. But I think also the topic and the heart of it is really near and dear to my heart, as I've been pastoring now for many years and in ministry for a long time since I was young, and I'm a pastor's kid. So let's talk about your book, Daily Rebellion: The Everyday Fight to Press Pause. Why did you write this book? What's the heart behind it?
Well, I was at a silent prayer retreat many years ago. And it was kind of I knew about silence, not supposed to talk, but people there were walking really slowly, and their their eyes were down, and I thought, okay, it's just weird, and I had to get in. When in Rome, you do what everybody's doing, and God spoke to me in that setting, and I'm a fan now of walking slowly at those moments. It was kind of based on decision fatigue. They take away all the decisions. You don't have to worry about where you're going to sit, or who you're going to eat meals with. You're already designed, and then you're quiet. And in that setting, you have room for God to speak to you. And God did speak to me in a way that was uncommon for me. And when I came back from that retreat, I decided that my team needs to experience these kinds of things. So I started to write soul care guides for our team 4 times a year. When our leadership team would go away on their own and work through my study for about 3 hours. And I remember one day, after one of those moments, coming back, when we finished it, one of our non-pastoral team members was walking along the back hallway, and I write about this in the book. And he said, "Hey, PK," which is what they call me, "today was Soul Care Day for the team." And I said, "Yeah." the pastors, they need to care for their souls. And what he said to me flattened me against the wall. And I've not been the same since that moment. He said, you know what? I have a soul. And I said, wow, you sure
Mm.
do. And so from that point on, everybody on the team worked through soul care guides. And that kind of was the impetus for, I have something to say about that because it is a fight. You know, in a daily rebellion, I mean, there's no question about getting still with God and listening to Him and taking more of Him in is a fight day to
Yeah.
day. So that's really why I wrote the book. It was on my heart. I got something to say about that.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. It intrigues me to I guess the position or the stance of the title, right? Why did you choose to frame soul care as a form of rebellion?
Because I think it's an act of defiance. You
Hmm.
know, in a culture that's like up and to the right, you know, we're climbing ladders, we're corporate ladders, or just we have goals, we have schedules, we have activities, we have kids and family and dreams and futures, and all those things are beautiful and good, but they sometimes get in the way of what God wants to do with us. And I think that that rebellion sounds like a dirty word, but not all rebellion is bad. Some rebellion is holy. And so when we decide to press pause, which is that byline, which is going to be the original title of the book, and then God got in there and changed that up. But really, when we decide to, I'm going to say buck against, the regular flow of life, because I've said many times that the stream of life is not this beautiful lazy river taking you to the throne of Jesus. It's not. It's a raging wind taking you away from
Right.
everything that God stands for. And so I think that's why. And there's a lot of rebels in culture, that we exalt today or just even put on pedestals, even going way back, like, Joan of Arc, Nelson Mandela, um, um, lots of people. Jesus, right, for sure,
Yeah.
is a
Yeah.
rebel. He healed on the Sabbath, and he got away on mountains, and he took naps on boats, for heaven's sakes. So I think these are all moments that we can say, to be like Jesus, we really need to press pause on life.
Yeah, that's good. I think it's a great perspective, and I think, like you mentioned, in the day and age that we live in, and as a pastor myself, and Confessions of a Pastor, it's so easy to, I think there's even positive intentions and desires behind wanting to produce and wanting to get things done and
Right.
and expand the kingdom. But I think it's not okay at the expense of our health, at the expense of the well-being of our soul, which I think is the heart of this. Now, you mentioned a little bit about being on that kind of silence retreat. Um, uh, is there another, like, was that part of it? Was there another personal experience that kind of led you to realize that slowing down, pressing pause was not just a good consideration, but a necessary act of resistance?
Yeah, there was a personal thing, and we haven't talked about this, so it's interesting that you would ask me that follow up. About 3 years ago, I was diagnosed with cancer,
Wow.
and it's not something you ever expect to hear. I've never
Wow.
been to a doctor in my life, and in about 2 months, I had seen more doctors than I'd seen in decades of life.
Mm.
Lost all my hair, lost my eyebrows, my eyelashes, and went through chemo. And one of the chapters of the book talks about that there are moments that you're really forced to press pause.
Mm.
It's not really a choice,
Right.
and that is thrust on you, like Psalm 23 that says, He makes me lie down in green pastures. It's just
Yeah.
put you down.
Yeah.
And so that was another catalyst, really, for the book, that God taught me some things in that period of time that I didn't know about myself or about where He was leading me, and just underscored the importance of just being with Him, abiding with Him, spending time with Him. And don't we all just know that we're supposed to as
Right.
pastors? We just all know that, but doing it and actually pressing pause is a different thing. So that was another thing in my life that kind of motivated me around this.
Yeah. The way you just phrased that was pretty powerful. And I can't help but think that sometimes life makes you, right, or circumstances, even God, I think sometimes might make us,
For sure.
pause. Um, in your book, you talk about how Even Jesus, who, by the way, probably didn't need to rest, didn't need to sleep, right? Technically speaking, um, Jesus, God in the flesh, even Jesus withdrew to quiet places as a way. Now we can see it right on the human side, the humanity side of Jesus, probably as a way of soul care. How should that affect our thought pattern and our pace?
It's easy to understand why if you overdo your body, what the side effects of that would be. I mean, if you neglect your body, then you can fill in all those blanks yourself, but you're more prone to all kinds of bad things, heart attacks, and even weight gain or whatever it
Yeah,
is. Neglect that, but we don't see that so much if we neglect our souls.
right.
No, we don't. We're made imago Dei, in the image of God. And so that really answers one of those questions. If God in the form of Jesus did it, then we don't have to have guilt around that. This is what we're called to do. He did it. And there were other pauses, I think, in Jesus' life that just come to mind. I even think about the instance with the adulterous woman. And he has a pause where he just bends down and writes in the sand or in the dirt or whatever.
Yeah,
There's just that pause when Pilate asks him, "Why aren't you saying anything, about these accusations?" And he's just still. There's really that beautiful pause in the 3 days between crucifixion and putting put in the tomb and the resurrection. There's just that holy pause. We don't know what's going on. Jesus is just pausing.
yeah,
I even think about the communion table when Jesus says, "Hey, before we do it, just examine yourself." There're just all these little pauses that we don't even realize that are happening in Scripture, and I think that gives us permission, that you don't have to do it with guilt because you're imago Dei. You're made in the image of God. Jesus didn't have guilt when he took a nap on a boat. You don't need to have guilt either for those kinds of things.
yeah. It's true. I think also personality can have an impact as well. When you're driven and motivated, right? I think it's easy, speaking from from a little bit of experience and maybe personal confession. It's easy as a pastor to justify, hey, this is the work of the ministry, right? And
Right.
we're doing the work of the ministry, and I can't help but think of so many pastors, unfortunately, where we hear headlines and stories about moral failures and
Right.
even sad news of a pastor taking his life.
Right.
And I can't help but think you can't see the soul with your eyes.
Right.
You're not getting a medical lab report every year
Right.
necessarily of your soul. I think, goodness, as I'm thinking about that, Pastor Kevin, I would imagine what you've gone through, maybe what God's put on your heart as well. Um, there's like a true concern for I think for everybody, but speaking of pastors and leaders, I think there's a true concern there for the condition of their souls. Would you agree?
Yeah, and we read the same Bible everybody reads, and yet it says, "What does it profit a person if he gains the whole world,
Yep.
but loses his soul?"
Woo.
Which is kind of proof that you can lose it
Right.
somehow. But I think whenever we say, "I don't have time," which I say, you say it, everybody says it, pastors say it, leaders say it. I don't have time for this, and my comeback is simple: is you don't have time not to.
Right.
You really don't. I mean, it's not meant to be like the occasional vacation and then you fill yourself back up. Really pressing pause on life and rebelling against all the culture coming at you. It's a daily fuel. It's not this, I've got one coming in 3 months and we're gonna recoup at that point. It really is daily fuel for you,
Yeah.
to just pull yourself back up. And if you don't make time for it, then your body will tell you why, and your soul and your spirit will tell you, bad move. I mean, David said your soul is kind of the seat of emotions, right?
Yeah.
I mean, David says, "Why, my soul, are you so downcast?"
Downcast.
Right? And that's why we say, self care is not selfish. It makes you more loving. It makes you more self aware. It makes you more productive. It makes you more like Jesus. So we got to do it.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I have a coach that's been in my life, Pastor Lance Witt, who also talks and writes about this subject, from his experience and his perspective. Something that caught my attention is that you write that pausing is resisting the lie that your worth is tied to your output, right? Kind of what I've been, I guess, bringing up here. Why do you think that's so hard for people today to accept?
It's just the culture we swim in. So whatever you're swimming in, that rules. And so that's what we live every day. You live it, I live it. And I kind of mentioned it a few minutes ago, but we're always looking for the next high, the next goal, the next achievement. We're kind of built that way, and you and I are probably built that way.
Yeah.
We're looking for to take the hill, to do all that, and I think that kind of sucks us in to what I'm talking about is actually being still. And I don't know, we're not fans of being still because we equate stillness with unproductivity.
Right.
And it really is the opposite. It's hard to be continually productive if you haven't spent time just abiding, which one of the chapters is about abiding and remaining with Jesus. It's simply, can you give him just a little more time? I've been talking about another 2 hours. Can you just give him a little more time? Just take a step to the right with that. So I think that we all carry responsibilities, we all carry expectations, we all carry checklists, and those are fine. But I'm calling us to push through that and ignore the tension that's growing, or not ignore it, but overcome the tension that's mounting in our spirits. And if we don't lay that down, I think something starts to crack. You can only hold the glass so long, full of water, before it just gets. In the first 2 minutes, the glass isn't heavy, but if you hold it for 4 hours,
Yeah.
the glass begins. It's going to fall and break at some point.
Yeah.
So that's really why. And I'm kind of even now, if my wife was here, I'm kind of a knee shaker, a leg shaker, because how many times in my life has she reached under a table at a dinner and like put her hand on my leg to say, Kevin, please stop. And the entire table shake. Or I've got a pen right here. I'm just a pen clicker. And she's like, she gives me that look like, you realize that you have clicked that pen 40 times in the last minute. It's like, no. But that's who we are. We have a hard time just, okay, settle down and rebel and
Yeah.
be a revolutionary against the way the world's going with that. So,
Yeah, I imagine because of your journey, and now even more as your book, begins to get into more hands. I imagine you're going to become a point of reference for many people, because our culture so often celebrates hustle and productivity. How do you encourage, or what do you find the most effective way to encourage people not to feel guilty when they choose to press pause?
first of all, we're already pressing pause. I think there should be acknowledgement that we already do that. Even the space between our breaths, if I can be that, elementary about it, there's a pause every time you inhale and you exhale. There's just a pause. Whenever you take the long route home, and which one of us hasn't done that?
Mm-hmm.
From point A to point B, but you're going to go the long way because you need a few extra minutes of pause. That's what that is. Or how many times I pull into my garage at the end of the day,
Yeah.
and rather than just get out and go into the house, I'm sitting in the garage in the car like for an extra 5 or 10 minutes. I just need that extra moment. Or we're pressing pause in the movie to let's go get some popcorn. But I think it can be deeper than that. A moment of
Mm.
gratitude is an easy way to say, hey, I'm rebelling against culture and I'm pressing pause. I think getting outside, and all the chapters are all about some of these things. Walking outside for a bit. I mean, there's no better place where the glory of God is revealed than outside. Just go outside and look up, and God's revealed there. I mean, the Psalms talk about that over and over. And so I think those are easy ways that we can be free of the guilt. I mean, just to break from the screens, to reconnect with the present is just a way to press pause. So those are all things we can do easily. And the book also has some hacks that I put in at the end of each chapter that are just like these easy little things that you can do. For instance, I advocate just putting on a pair of headphones for like 15 minutes, because when you have headphones on, people think that you're actually listening to something. But you can like actually put headphones on and not be listening to anything. And so that's just a way like to close yourself in,
That's sneaky. I
right?
like it.
And there's one like if you just put in the area of gratitude, because you can't do any of these things. You can't abide without pausing. You can't listen without pausing. You can't do Sabbath without pausing. You can't even be grateful without pausing. And those are all rebellious kinds of things. So if you just like put a post-it note on your refrigerator like every day for something you're grateful for, and by the end of like a week or two, you have a collage
Yeah.
things and when you pass by it, there's just that moment, you just don't walk past it. There's just like this very infinitesimally small pause that you do. It's like, oh yeah, I'm looking at the fridge and I remember that I'm grateful for that. Those are all little pauses that we do. I used to set my device on vibrate every hour on the hour. So however many hours I was awake during the day, if it was 18 hours, every time the clock went to the 12, my device would vibrate. And it was just a moment for me to pause. Sometimes in a meeting, sometimes I was not in a meeting and in my car, whatever. But it was an acknowledgement in that moment that yes, there is a God. He does love me. It was just these like, and so at the end of the day, I had literally 18 more moments just to be with Jesus, even if they were seconds long.
Sure.
And those are just some of the hacks that I say those will help you as you navigate pauses in your life.
I love that. I love those hacks. I think everybody who's listening or watching, you're going to want to get more of those hacks. Just reading over on the table of contents, some of the titles of the chapters. I see Rebel Without a Pause. Love that. I see Wave a White Flag. I see To Listen or Not to Listen. That is the question. I see Keeping Sabbath. Let's talk about Sabbath. I think this is something that most believers, even leaders and pastors, will say, amen, the Sabbath. But when it comes to, are you really observing? Are you really living and practicing the
Yeah,
principle of Sabbath?
right.
I don't know that everybody's seeing that.
Yeah, and I think that can become as legalistic as anything.
Right.
So if we're talking about no, you need an entire day of your life. All right, let I just again I will say take a step to the right. The Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. And so I advocate, and I think if you make it to Sabbath, then you don't need this book. If you made it to Sabbath, like regular Sabbath, that's like you did it, bro. You got pausing down. You're good. But I think that you set boundaries on Sabbath.
Mm,
You think about how you're going to eat differently. I mean, I have in the book how the Orthodox Jews do it even today with the baking of their challah bread and lighting the candles, and that's all in there. But I mean, are you going to make challah bread today? Maybe. But how about if you just decide on the Sabbath day or on the Sabbath evening, we're going to order DoorDash. We're not going to be busy with the kitchen and all of that. I think those little things. If you just worship together for a bit, if you take your Devo out and you spend a little more time on your Sabbath, you
yeah.
set the proper boundaries. Those can create a beautiful Sabbath for everybody. And in the book, it mentions we take trips to Israel every now and then, and with our church, and we're always on Friday, which is Sabbath, begin Sabbath at the Dead Sea. However the itinerary works, that's always where we are. So there's these high-rise hotels at the Dead Sea that are really spas and all that, and the elevators in the Dead Sea hotels on Sabbath night. I didn't know this till I got in one on Friday night. They go all the way to the top floor of the hotel, and then they stop at every floor on the way down without you pressing any buttons. Because if you press a button, that's work.
Right.
So those are ways that they've done it, but that's kind of extraordinary and extreme. But
Sure.
just engage in family time. Just sit down. Just share a special meal. Those are all ways I think that you can engage in Sabbath and move it forward.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. What do you hope, Pastor Kevin, that readers will carry with them? What do you hope will land, in their hearts after they finish reading Daily Rebellion?
Um, I hope and pray that we just learn to listen a little bit better. You know, I I think these are the things that make life with Jesus revolutionary. Um, Again, I'm a big advocate. I've said it a couple times. Can we just take a step to the right with life with Jesus? And so I'm praying that there's a greater sense of surrender in people's lives. I'm
Yeah.
praying that people grasp onto Sabbath in their life. I'm praying that people understand really who they are in Christ, which is really one of the chapters is about. I'm praying just for a greater sense of gratitude in our lives, because you really cannot be in a hurry and be a grateful person. And then I know there are people walking through stuff right now, or they have, or they're going to. And that's not a curse, or that's not a prophetic thing. It's just, if you live long enough, you're going to face a mountain, you're going to face a valley. You just
Yeah.
are. And so in those moments, there are pause plans that you can put in place.
Mm.
And I'm praying that, for some folks who read the book and who are going through things, that's a ministry to them. They understand how to press pause even in the middle of pain. But hopefully, what I'm asking, and maybe it would be my final thing here, almost, was don't do nothing. That's my prayer. Don't
Right.
do nothing. Start somewhere. Do something. Take a step to the right, and I think that you'll find Jesus there. It'd be beautiful.
Yeah, that's good. I would love to share a little bit with everybody who's either listening or watching this podcast, just how they can connect, how they can get the book, and what other resources are connected to it. Where can people go?
Well, I am at jrnychurch.com. So that's Journey Church. So that's our church website.
Mm-hmm.
And then the book can be found at Daily. And if for the people who are watching, this is the book.
Yeah.
And actually, whenever this comes out, but the book just came in today on the day of the recording. Of this podcast. But so Daily Rebellion. So the book is at dailyrebellionbook.com. Dailyrebellionbook.com. So that can be found there. And that will take you to some other links also that have a study guide. I've done the audiobook. And then also, I've done an album. So I'm a pianist at heart, and for many, many years, piano player. And I'm a pretty good piano player, which was my brag.
Come on, Pastor Kevin.
For just a moment. Umbrella of grace on that. But I just recorded 12 what I call vintage hymns that really the idea was that the chapters reminded me of songs that I grew up on, really. And so I just created 12 songs that really are vintage with some motifs of my own put in there. It's solid piano. It's just piano. So those are just some things that people can take advantage of.
I love that. So the website is dailyrebellionbook.com. Everybody, I want you to go there because not only can you get the book, but you can see some of the other resources connected to the book, including the audio book. Did I hear study guide, masterclass videos?
Yes, sir.
That they're all complementary to and go along with the book.
Right.
And so I love this. This is the first time I hear this, by the way. As a musician, as a worshiper, right? You recorded some piano tracks, kind of new recordings that go along with each one. How do people access that? How do they connect to that?
Well, at Daily Rebellion Book, it will take you to to a link, but I'm looking at it here. At the end of each chapter, there is a QR code.
Cool.
So those will all each take you to that album. So
I don't know about everybody else. I like, this is because I'm a musician, maybe, I don't know, but I like having a little bit of background instrumental music when I'm reading, sometimes when I'm kind of studying. So that's awesome, and it's kind of worshipful. Like, this is like a whole multi-dimensional and sensory experience.
That's right. And the piano thing is really meant to be soul care-ish. So that's the vibe of the playing, which is really that's my MO anyway. So yeah, hope people enjoy that. If they get that, that'd be a huge blessing, I think.
So before we, I want to mention one thing real quick, because we love resourcing leaders here at AVAIL. dailyrebellionbook.com. That's where you can kind of connect with Pastor Kevin, all the resources connected to his book, Daily Rebellion. I want to mention our AVAIL Journal. If you're watching or listening and you are not yet subscribed to the AVAIL Journal, I don't know what you're waiting for. It's the best Christian leadership journal out there. It really is awesome. You can try our free trial subscription. It'll be on us. Go to availjournal.com, free trial subscription. I think you're going to love it. It's great content from great leaders like Pastor Kevin Taylor. It feels good. It looks good. And it really helps you in your leadership. If you haven't done it, availjournal.com. What I wanted to say, Pastor Kevin, or what I want to ask, actually, just kind of off the cuff questions here. Did you ever think in your life that you were going to be writing a book called Daily Rebellion about soul care?
No, never. People at my church over years, they have said to me so many times, which is super kind of them, first of all. We have a kind congregation. But they said to me at the end, like in the lobby, PK, when are you going to write your book? And I just kind of slough that off or whatever. But no, I think I've heard that old phrase that everybody has one book inside of them. I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe some people should keep it inside of them. I'm not sure. But yeah, no, it's beautiful. When I got the books today, it was one of those moments in my life, really, where just my soul kind of just exploded. It's like, wow, look, we did this. So no, I never really thought, but I'm glad to have done it, and I think that I have something to say to
Yeah.
people out there, and so I hope
Yeah, that's good.
you enjoy it. So
That's good. A couple quick response questions here. What makes you laugh?
um, I, and when I look in the mirror, that's the first thing that makes me laugh. um, anything that's gracious and funny makes me
Yeah.
laugh.
Yeah.
I'm not a mean-spirited guy, so sarcasm or that kind of stuff, that doesn't make me laugh. But just really kind of pure wit makes me
Mm.
laugh a lot.
What
And my
what do
wife, she makes me laugh.
Okay. What do you like to
Yeah.
do for fun?
Well, I hit the gym whenever I can. In fact, that's really how I found out about the cancer 3 years
Hmm.
ago. Was that I had a pain in my I've lifted too much weight, and it turns out that it wasn't that. So
Hmm.
I still do the gym from time to time. I know you couldn't even tell if you saw me in person, but I do that. And then we love to travel. We love traveling all over the
Cool.
country, and we love getting to Italy whenever we can. So that's what we do for fun.
That's good. That's good. Pastor Kevin, what breaks your heart?
Um, I think um, seeing a world that has never heard of Jesus breaks my heart.
Yeah.
I think about 3 billion people on the planet that don't know the name of Jesus. That's heartbreaking to me. Um, I think injustice makes me sad,
Yeah.
and I think how can we help that? So I think those are things that grieve me. Um, and then I think just even seeing people mistreated, because I think I'm that kind. I'm that guy. Not that other people aren't kind, but unkindness really has a grip on my heart when I see
Mm.
that, either physically or verbally or in any other way. So those are things that I grieve on.
Yeah. Yeah. Last question here before we go to a final nugget. Um, as you look at the church now in this time, what excites you or encourages you about the church?
Man, there are so many young people coming to church.
Come on.
I'm like grandpa now in so many ways. But our church, just our church, but you see it all over the country,
Hmm.
in colleges, universities, and that's being played out in our own city. And so when I come on a weekend, we have 5 campuses. So when I see that at different campuses, that is super exciting to me, to
It
think that we're
is.
going to hand over the keys at some point to another generation, and there is one.
Yeah.
So that is super exciting to me. The revival and the awakenings that are happening right now. About 2 months ago, we have one baptism outdoors every year because it's Wisconsin.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got like a 1 week in July that you can do baptisms outside. Um, we baptized 279 people in one day,
Wow.
and it was mind blowing in
Beautiful.
100 different ways. So that excites me a lot about the
Yeah.
future.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. As we kind of round things off here, what do you want to leave on everybody's hearts? What final thought you want to leave here?
That God just wants to be with you. And that's really why I think I wrote the book, is that there's a surging thing in my heart. And don't we just know that? I mean, we know that.
Yeah.
But as leaders, I don't know if we embrace it because we're so busy giving out, that God says, wait a minute, I need to pour into you, but I do need you not to keep saying it, but I do need you to press pause on your life in order that I can have a space. Because I don't think we give enough space, and he's knocking on that door. Say, just abide with me. I'm the vine, you're the branch. You can't survive without me. There's
Yeah.
no sustenance for you except being attached to me. And so the more we can just stay attached, I think that's really what I'm after, and what I would pray for everybody. Just abide in Jesus, be with him. Just be with him. Find a way. Don't, and again, don't do nothing. Start somewhere, do something.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good word. That's a good word. Pastor Kevin, thank you for being a guest here on the Avail podcast. I want to mention on behalf of the Avail team, Dr. Sam Chand, Martijn Van Tilborg, everybody on Avail, we're thankful for your life. We're proud of you. We can't wait to see how the Lord's going to use your book. It's already making an impact in my life just hearing about it and why you wrote it. We're proud of you and we honor you, brother.
Thanks, Virgil. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Avail podcast. For more leadership resources, check us out at theartofleadership.com and make sure to claim your free trial subscription of the AVAIL Journal at availjournal.com. As always, I'm your AVAIL podcast host, Virgil Sierra. Muchas gracias. Thank you for connecting with us to learn the art of leadership here at the AVAIL podcast.